So, continuing this video, Michaela, I don't know if you have time to put these videos in the background while you washing dishes or whatever it is, but I hope that this video reaches out to you. Look, I'm 40 years old, January 6th. I had a bone marrow transplant, diagnosed with aplastic anemia at 23 years old in the year 2007 of May. So when I got diagnosed, within 1 month, I was already admitted into the hospital to prepare for the bone marrow transplant and chemotherapy. And they told me I had a 50-50 chance to survive because they don't know if I was going to be able to accept this bone marrow transplant. Now, when I was having this bone marrow transplant, Julian was 17 years old and he was at Children's Medical Center with my mother. At that time, I did not want to put any more pressure on my mother or wanted to cause a dilemma. And if I had died, my mother would have just been notified that my death had happened. And I wasn't going to let her watch me gargling out blood while I was going to die. Had I known in my life what was going on, I cannot express enough how greatly fooled I was and how malicious Kenneth Cooper at the radio station was going after our dead sister and our biological father's daughter. And he was literally using as a shuffle rag, as a wash rag, to then shuffle everything around the way that he want. Now, please be careful because they've already sent Madison, which is Michelle's daughter, which is Sarah Cooper's granddaughter, over at Walmart, and she was taunting about your dead daughter and was pointing toward the ground that she's there to clean it up and do it for them. So I want to make this very clear in everything that's going on. In this whole picture that's going on, Madison did not know what the fuck was going on. And that's exactly what Sarah Cooper did. They knew they were going to staple it to that person because they didn't know it was them that did it. And that's why. Because when I start going after their neck and throat for a shootout, that's who they were going to send to get away with it. Because it's the white pretty girl, princess girl, that's going to replace your dead daughter and kill me off with the white supremacy and then go after my mother's throat. They're very calculated. This guy's used to putting people away for life and on death row. This guy's a murderer. This guy's fucking crazy. This guy was talking a lot of shit about your daughter in front of my face, not me even knowing, because had I known that I had a biological father, they knew that I would have brought it up. But they're hiding their homosexual and secret life in the closet that you have no knowledge about. But as far as it goes for my transplant, you can see that just a second ago they just hit something on the ground. They just hit something on the wall, and they just hit something on the ground, and I felt everything shudder on the ground. I want to make sure because they're going after your dead daughter. They're taunting it. This is a full white supremacy. This is for white power, and white power Ken Cooper is going to look like a fucking angel. This pig son of a bitch with his... I would have never had Kenneth, David. First of all, I never would have had Kenneth, any of those people inside that hospital. I had no idea because they had portrayed themselves. They didn't know anything about anything. It wasn't until all this Michael Jackson and all this other crazy shit, and I found out what these pieces of shits actually were, what they fucking did to my mother and me. And they told me to stay away from my mother. That's what they told me. And so did Kenneth. And Michelle's the one that was threatening me with a police officer when they showed up one day on Christmas Day. And he was there and he looked at me. He was using it as a threatening weapon. There was no friendly greet when I walked in there when I was 21 years old and I saw Michelle's so-called husband or whatever it was. There was a police officer for the Lewis Police Department in Dallas, Texas. And from my understanding, she's not in a relationship or got a divorce from that guy. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but I wanted to make sure, out of the safety of my biological father, I'm here to support you. I'm here to fight with you against these faggots. I'm here to fight with you and give you support of going against Barack Obama and George Bush in any way from this nigger and these motherfucking faggots that are doing this, because that's who did it. I know what I'm telling you, that's who did it. They gutted out your daughter like a pig, and that's who's fucking doing it. Did you just not watch this video and I just told you that there was somebody that did something to the ground? They're doing that. That's exactly what I'm talking about. They do these sickening psychological things because they want to allow them to get away with everything that's going on. I'm going to have to make you on another note, I want to make my biological father and Michaela, I'm going to make you a princess art craft boat. Something that genuinely comes from the hardest cores from my deep being eventually when I have the opportunity. That boat that I made may look like a masterpiece. That's garbage compared to what I'm going to be making really from me. The reason I had set that boat there was because it hopes it alleviates some of the things, but understanding it's just a cover up because I have to now use this bullshit because they're attacking me so often and I was threatened so viciously in that apartment or that hotel that I was in Barrie, Vermont by Jason. That's why I put his action figures right there. All I had to do was around Jason, this guy that was representing Ken Cooper and Sarah Cooper. Because the day that we bury your sister and there is any kind of ceremony, remember, that's how lethal and piece of shit they were. That's why I put Hector, because he's my biological father. That's why I put that key, because they own the key and they were going to use their kids and they were going to use the key to everything to get away to scrape off this dead little princess girl. They mutilated her for their personal advantage. This is a Mexican girl. This is a girl that suffered and I was there with my mother. My mother ended up getting raped, Michaela. You don't understand what was going on at that house and what was going on. They targeted my mother the entire time. That guy grabbed my mother, threw her in her room, and raped the shit out of my mother. And then she was crying, saying that she had been raped anally. My mother does not mentally understand because this is how the homosexuals were doing this because, and I think this was Ivan's father that did this, that looked like this guy. And what happened was, the reason is because Miguel. So they used the little girl against my mother to keep her occupied so that they can continue to live in a fancy house or, 3-bedroom, all comfortable house after raping my brother Frankie, raping the shit out of him, ripping the shit out of his ass in front of me, raping him when he was 6 to 7 years old. And it was Diana that slapped my mother. I've already talked about this before, but I'm going to make you a princess boat. And it's going to be dedicated eventually to my father, and I'll make my biological father still, our biological father still alive. We're going to make him a boat. I'm going to make you a separate boat. That is just a temporary boat, sort of just to express the very moment. But I'm going to make you something that's so much more greater than that. And the only reason I had to do that was to show the example of persecution and hatred that's going to happen to you. I'll explain more the boat of what persecution that has to go against the biological father that we had and our dead sister, and how they're going to use that as a coffin, as their coupon ticket, because it's them that used. They knew about Frankie being raped. I came over, they attacked my mother, they brought up the topics slightly in ways and were giving gestures, fooling my father, never telling my mother and father I was there the whole time. Please do not ever believe anything they have to say about that. They clearly 100% knew about this. And these white supremacies and these piece of shit motherfuckers want to make sure that this white boy ends up being told that he's a fucking hero because he was locking up people for his entire life and he was just, no. They're all going to cover this up and no. It doesn't matter what they say about the situation. I was there. And they're going to beat me and force me to say otherwise. Don't ever believe what they're telling you. So I wanted to make this, clear on this situation, Michaela. So please understand that what's going on right now. They're doing the ritual process of your dead sister. I'm not sure if you even, exactly how much concern you have. I'm not sure what concern you have about so much of this situation. But these homosexuals and these transgenders have only been targeting that in groups. I have been told. There was a guy that recently, I was in a meeting and I got written up here at my job site at Crested Butte Ski Resorts. And he goes over to me and he tries to play, yeah, that a boy. And he goes like that and he hits my kneecap. And the reason he does this is because my mother got ran over by a forklift. But before he does that, he's walking upstairs. There's 3 of us upstairs at the Butte 66 restaurant for our daily meeting at 8:15. First thing he does is this. Oh, how you doing, Hector? And he grabs my shoulder. So he uses this as a forceful way. You better do what I tell you to do, or else I'm gonna fuck you in your ass, and I'm gonna tell you how the police officers are gonna do it. You know how the gays are. So when he does this, this is a symbol of knowing that I got you raped. I know I told you what's going on, and then he sits right next to me. And so when he sits next to me, he tries to portray the biological father that I had by insinuating these types of things. And he goes to me and he goes, "Yeah, that a boy." And he says that like trying to play, "Oh, we're friends." There is nothing friendly already that was already going on several days before he did this. Hits my knee, and I go like this, and I'm looking at my phone like, damn, he just hit me. And this is what he does. So I want to make sure my mother got ran over by a forklift. He made an assault because he wants to ingest a physical contact with him saying, knowing that I was going to get pissed off. And I started yelling at him saying that you're not my father. You're playing this grandpappy shit on me. And then they started to shoot an electronic device into my brain where I couldn't talk. So they were allowing the person not only to assault me, but they want me to persecute against my own biological father, and they're using the electronic devices to do that. So I want to make this very clearly. I'm not sure if I'm ever going to have communication with my mother. You can go talk to David. I think that's his name. I reported him. This guy made an assault. My safety's number one. It's never going to stop. This piece of shit and whoever's doing this with Christian Novell, they're all working in teams against my biological father. They're taking this on what white side you're going to go on and what situation is going to be working best for them. But as far as it goes, Michaela, this guy that made this strike at me, remember whenever I was throwing some stuff in the trash and I said, don't worry about it. It all happens pretty fast because I'm trying to help you and alleviate. I don't know if you slept with a porn star. I don't know what the situation is. I know people make mistakes, but they went after you, they went after Michaela, Hector. So I want to make this very clear about this situation. I've also been referenced told that I have a biological twin, and I don't know what that story is. And it was a guy that was playing himself like Kenneth Cooper from the radio station to try to slither their ass to whatever they want. But as far as everything goes with this, this guy made a reference to me. The guy that hit me on my kneecap and grabbed my shoulder, and he tries to gets me to hate my biological father. He said something about, and I know what he was talking about when he said talking about he was going to send some men or some people to anally rape you and to anally have sex with you, to target you. And this is the way that he did it. He did it while I was getting some hot dogs, and he made a threat. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm going back there." And he's talking about Michaela. They're going to send people, and it's to dehumanize you. You don't understand how disgusting these motherfuckers are. I know the game and how this goes. And Michaela, I hope you're fine. To my biological father, please understand, just like they raped me, they're going after your daughter, and they're going to know how to do it. It's Ken Cooper and the police department in Texas. No one can ever, that guy is going to have to die. I know what I'm telling you. He is not going to pay for anything in this world until he's dead, and then Madison and his other kids are going to try to honor that piece of shit. I'm not to go into a hospital not knowing that these people had done this, and to think that they're going to look like angels. You don't know how forgiving I am to even this to have happened, because I needed answers to a lot of different things, the money, the house, and everything that was going on. That I'm there going to die in a hospital, and these pieces of shit are literally watching me ready to die. There is no forgiveness tool to watch somebody die like that, and they're young, because they were going to shut the doors. And Sarah Cooper brought up something about that. So whoever was in that house, whoever was in that apartment with Julian, Michaela, Sarah and Ken Cooper knew about it, and Sarah Cooper was sizing up the situation to see if I would spill out the beans, because I enjoy talking a lot. So whenever she started pointing toward a direction and be like, and just wait until I say something, because they wanted to find out. They find out that my biological father's there. Bingo. It's going to be shoot to kill, and they're going to go after you. To my biological father, Michaela, your father, our father. Please be careful out there. I'm not joking. Be safe.